Okay, cool. Where shall we begin? In the shadow of your famous drummer brother.
Talk about him.
So you get into graphic design. Is that your first sort of like
Career,
would you say?
yeah. Well, actually, advertising,
Right.
creative advertising. That's what I studied at uni. And then I worked in advertising in London for like 6 months, and that's about as much as I could take of it.
Right.
And I was like, I'm done.
Tell me about
that. Just like a lot of work and late nights and stress and not very much pay, and just wasn't fun. Like the uni course was super fun. Like absolutely loved it. Like just had like kind of a family that we all worked together, and then got out into I think basically when I was a teenager I saw myself as this like high powered businesswoman living in the city working in advertising, like you see on like rom-coms.
Did you buy a blazer with padded shoulders?
No,
you go for the power moves.
But that was on the cards. And then it wasn't like that. It was a lot of hard work and just wasn't fun. It just wasn't what I thought I wanted to do. It was just a lot of stress, basically. And I could see the creative directors that were like years above me, and they were stressed. They had families, and they were like staying till midnight working on these pitches and stuff. And I was like, I don't really want that.
Did they sort of fetishize?
Yeah, it was all like
I'm working so hard. I'm so late. I'm pulling a late one tonight.
It's like such that culture in London. It's like who works the hardest, and I was just like, I'm not sure if I want to be in this like little bubble where we were all like competing about how hard we work all the time and don't have a life.
This pissing match of misery.
Yeah, exactly. And like the perks were good. Like we got free cans of Coke at the freezer. And then maybe if you like made it, you'd get to go and travel somewhere on a shoot. But
right, what does made it mean in that world?
Well, like working on like big campaigns and stuff, like TV ads, but it's probably all changed now because
COVID.
Well, not COVID, but like social media, like.
Oh, how long ago are we talking then that you were there?
Well, 10, 11 years ago.
So social media hadn't taken its grip on the world like completely.
Facebook then.
Right.
And maybe the beginnings of Instagram.
Right.
But it wasn't like there was like a little bit of digital marketing.
Right.
But it was mostly TV ads, print adverts.
So what were you advertising? What were your client? What was the client base like?
Did some stuff for Compare the Market.
Nice.
The meerkat.
The meerkats. Are they that old?
Yeah.
And what's his face? The twiddly
that's Go Compare. We didn't work on that.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Compare the meerkat, wasn't it? Sorry, not Go Compare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Did you see that advert with him and go, bastards?
No, because I didn't come up with the idea. That was the thing. Like when you're first starting out, you're like trying to come up with ideas, but mostly you're just working on campaigns that have already started and just writing scripts. And I did stuff for like Aer Lingus, which is like a real cheap Irish airline.
Nice.
And it was just like, I thought I was going to be working on these really cool...
On like a shoot somewhere.
Yeah, and like, maybe if I had stuck it out, I probably would have done, but it just wasn't for me.
So what did you do then? Were you like, okay... London, was it London? Is London like a character in this part of the story? Do you know what I mean? It's like for many people, like a big city like London, specifically London, when we talk to people, generally people kind of see London as this like character that's like weighing down on them, or some like impenetrable like commercial beast that they can't seem to tame.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Should have been in marketing, should I?
I've
done that.
The big character of London weighing you down. But not at that point. That point, I'd only been in London for like a year, so I was still quite enjoying it. I decided to do a master's in graphic design because I wanted to do a bit more of like the sort of hands-on side of it. When you're working in advertising, you're just sitting around thinking of ideas, and then someone else does the actual like making of the advert. But to be honest, I wanted to leave advertising completely. I did a master's in graphic design in Kingston, so I still lived in London and I just commuted out to Kingston. And then I wanted to go into the music industry, so then I got a job in the music industry as a graphic designer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that. Who did you do work for?
Well, firstly, I got an internship at Ninja Tune, the record label. Have you heard of them? Like an indie record label. Look after like Bonobo and people like that.
I know Bonobo.
Yeah, that sort of like obscure kind of...
Hipster.
Yeah, hipster music.
But Bonobo, great.
Yeah, really good.
Great. Yeah.
And then I went on to get a job at a company called the Creative Corporation, and...
That was a creative name, wasn't it?
I know, it's a bit long, I think. Sorry, Dave, who owns it. And yeah, just worked there for 3-4 years maybe. I worked my way up to creative director of the company. It was quite a small company. And we worked on stuff for Jimmy Page and David Gilmour, London Grammar, Elton John, like loads of cool stuff.
Right. What was this, like album covers?
A mixture. Or? So Jimmy Page was the best one. We did like a limited edition vinyl artwork, this all-encompassing kind of box set.
Right.
It was for all the film soundtracks that he did.
Okay.
And that was actually really fun to work on. That was like the last thing that I worked on.
Did you meet him? Did he come in the office?
I did meet him like once. He was really cool actually. He was like, basically just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Loved all my ideas. Like it was great. And then David Gilmour did album artwork for his album, which is called Rattle That Lock, which was like his sort of most recent maybe.
Right.
But this was like maybe 8 years ago, so
he's probably put out a couple of live albums.
Yeah, something
else.
But and then so they were like the two big ones, and then a lot of digital campaigns and websites and stuff like that for other artists. But it was mainly like catalogue stuff.
Right.
And it was fun. Like it was cool to work in the music industry for a bit.
Right.
And then it got very much like, again, it was one of those things where you thought it was going to be cool, but actually you're just dealing with a lot of egos and a lot of stress, and a lot of your ideas get diluted down and everyone wants their say all the time. And it's that kind of bubble again in the music industry where like everyone just loves that they work in the music industry. But yeah, it was fun. But at that point, at the end of that job, I was done with London then. So that was after I'd been in London for 6 years.
Oh, you were there quite a while then.
Yeah.
What was it about? Is it just the pace or?
Yeah, it's a really lonely place, London. Like, it's one of those places that you're surrounded by people, but no one can afford to do anything. Everything takes an hour to get to, so no one wants to travel to do anything. And by the time you get home from your stressful job, you're just too knackered, so you just sit in your room and eat like leftover sushi. That sounds so middle class.
I thought you were going to say leftover Chinese. Last night's truffles.
No, they used to do this thing at, oh God, I'm going to sound like such a dick right now. They used to do this thing at Itsu where like after 5 p.m. you could get half price sushi. So on the way home from work I used to buy that and eat.
It's the same sushi at half the price.
Exactly.
Marketing again, I should have done it, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
The same sushi at half the price.
Very good.
Yeah, love it. Okay, well, have you ever, you into comedy at all? Stand-up comedy and stuff like that? Do you like that stuff?
A bit.
Have you ever heard of Bill Hicks?
No.
Okay, Bill Hicks is the man, right?
Okay.
Check him out when you can. He's got this whole bit where he's like, if you work in advertising, fucking kill yourself. And he's
That's
like,
exactly what it's like.
He's like, we're going after this dollar. We're going after this potential dollar here. He's like, fucking kill yourself.
This is so good.
Yeah. Bill Hicks is great, and I imagine what the what he's talking about there is kind of the stuff you were feeling. That kind of like, everything's probably a bit like American Psycho, where everyone's up their own arse. And
yeah, it's exactly like, it's just egos. That's all I can describe it as. And like, you just have this
cynical and
and like you go out for drinks after work, and like, it's just not fun. And then you come home, you're hungover the next day, and then you do it all again. You go for like a lunch, and then you have drinks at lunch, and it's not a healthy lifestyle. I'm sure there's people listening that like live in London, maybe,
love it,
and absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for me. I just had enough. And at the time as well, I was like in a relationship that I wasn't happy with, and I didn't really get on with my boss. I wasn't enjoying the job anymore. I wasn't really being like creatively challenged anymore. I felt a bit like I was just not inspired. I was just done, and I was done with London and living in a grotty, tiny little mouldy flat and paying loads of rent for it, basically.
Right. So you were like, said to your boyfriend, so you're up.
I handed my notice in. I broke up with my boyfriend.
In that order?
No,
That's a risky one,
I broke up
isn't
with my
it?
boyfriend first.
Right.
And then I handed my notice in, and then I decided to move back to Frome.
Okay.
And I mean, the girls I lived with were all going our separate ways anyway, so we just, like, it was quite straightforward. Another girl moved back to Frome, and then I was like, I'm going to do that as well. End
of an era.
Yeah.
But like, kind of, some people, you just got to get out your system, haven't you?
Yeah,
I think go and try it, and then you realise it's not for you.
I would still encourage people to go and do it. Like, I had a great time the first few years. It was so fun because, especially growing up in a small town, like, you don't experience that city life, and it is really good to kind of, go and have fun and go out and go to all the art galleries and the theatres and experience all that sort of stuff. But I just realised I'm a country girl, I'm not a city girl.
You're a country girl at heart.
Yeah, I'm a Fromey through and through.
Did you feel like when you left the flat or house or whatever, the apartment, in London, do you feel like it was like mask time to be this like, hey, yeah, we'll go for a business lunch, and you know, oh yeah, we'll do we'll have a gin at lunch and put it on the company credit card. Well, did you feel like you were like playing a role, like you were just kind of doing a thing, like you were in a culture and you were just kind of like going along with it because that's how that world kind of runs? Yeah,
and I think a lot of people in that industry and in London are like that. Like, they kind of come out of London and all they talk about is
London.
I'm going to offend loads of people now, aren't I? Sorry.
Up to you.
But I mean, I did it. Like, I
doubt anyone's going, Alice, how dare I'm to my core. I'm hurt.
I don't do that.
I'm hurt by what you just said. Go for it.
True.
Go for it. Set it on fire. Go on.
No, I used to do that as well. Like, come back to Frome or go visit someone that didn't live in London, and like all I talked about was like how great London was. And but it was just,
you're talking about me in this, aren't you? It's an indirect via a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get back to Frome and you're like, okay, yeah, all right. I know how to do graphic design and marketing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so
you continue to do that, right?
I moved home with my mum at 27.
Shout out, mum.
Always fun. Shout out, Sal. But it was really good. Like, to be honest, I just moved home. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was just like, I'm gonna have a month off. I'm just gonna like have some space. I'm gonna. Well, actually, can we like go back a few steps?
We can go back a few steps. Yeah. It's your story. Do what you want.
So before I left London, I because this links in with the hiking. So I read the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Don't know if you've ever heard of it or watched the film.
No.
Anyway, it's about this woman who hikes this really long distance trail in America. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to get out and hike and be in nature. So Basically, I just booked a train from London to the Lake District. I bought a load of camping gear and hiking gear. I got the train up to the Lake District. I hiked from the train station to a campsite. I camped on my own. Then the next day I climbed Scafell Pike, which is the highest mountain in England.
You just did that first one you did, right?
Just first one I did.
I'm just going to see if it's for me. I'm just going to go camp alone in this random place. And then hike the highest mountain in England.
This, I think, goes to show like just how miserable I was though. Because I was like at that point where everyone was like, Alice, what are you doing? Like, you need to be careful. You don't know how to read a map. like,
right.
And
okay. Yeah,
I was like, nah, I've got to do it. Like, I've got to go. And I just wasn't listening to anyone. And for me, I was just like, there is no like other option. Like, I have to go and do this. If I die, then fine.
So be it.
So be it.
Take me, nature,
so
from back to where I came.
So yeah, it is quite a big thing, but I loved it. Like,
it is a big thing. It's the highest mountain in. Did you get to the top of it and go, oh fuck, I can't get back down?
No, I got to the top of it, and I thought, oh my god, that was the scariest thing I've ever done, because I got completely lost.
Did you?
And I had to go up the harder route where you have to scramble.
Whoa, back up, scramble, tell me.
Scramble is like kind of like climbing, but not so upright, and you don't have ropes. So
is it a little bit like you can sort of pawing your way up as well?
Yeah, right. So you're not like, vertical.
Right.
But you're like kind of like this, and there's loads of rocks.
So is it a steep incline?
A steep incline that you need to use your hands and legs for.
So you're like Mowgli.
Yeah. Yeah. And the cloud was coming in, and I realised that actually reading a map and compass was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I did make it to the top all by myself, and then up there I met this guy who...
What, just up the top of the mountain? Is the guy at the top of the highest mountain?
There were a few people up there, thank God. Okay. And I was like quite relieved.
So were you able to like look at them and sort of follow where they were going? Because like, in my head, when you're telling me that story, you're on your own.
No, well, to be fair, like it is a busy mountain, but I left really early in the morning.
It's a busy mountain.
It's
busy this morning. I don't know.
I know you find that really funny, but
that's really normal. For me, I'm like, that just sounds
Have
strange.
You seen...
A lot of traffic on the peak.
Yeah, you go to Snowdon in the peak of summer and you have to queue to get to the top.
I don't want it. I don't want to know about it.
There's toilets and a cafe up there.
While everyone does their Instagram, someone's like, take a picture of me looking wistfully out over the...
I mean, that's funny because that's exactly what I say to my best friend all the time.
Quick, get that shot of me looking out over the horizon
like, hey, Laura,
from behind.
Can you just take this picture of me? Hold on, you've got to get my hair flowing in the wind.
But it's fine when like you do it, but it's just like it's something else when you got to watch like multiple people do it, right?
Yeah, I try and do it when there's no one around.
The social media post in a vacuum is a different thing to like seeing it unfold in front of you, isn't it?
But yeah, you kind of have to get over that embarrassment if you like want to make a thing out of it. Unfortunately.
Exactly. Have you seen that page, Influencers in the Wild?
Yeah,
I love that page.
It is good. I could be on there, I think, quite easily.
It's just like people it's just like bikini models or like models like on the beach, like on all fours, like looking really hot, and their boyfriend's like trying to get a picture for their thing, and then like this fucking huge wave comes in and just takes them out.
The funny thing is that like this is what it's like for me.
You're like, ah! Yeah.
When I go and go swimming and I've got my GoPro, I think people must look at me like I'm absolutely mental.
But this is what you do now.
Exactly.
Like, okay, so you're up this mountain, you get to the top, there's a load of people up there.
Yeah, so anyway, there's this guy that I get chatting to him and I say like, this is my first mountain that I've done on my own. Take some pictures of me, please. I actually did say that.
Yeah.
We get chatting. He's actually from Somerset, which is kind of cool. And I just said to them, like, can I follow you back down? Because I don't want to get lost.
Long story short, you've been married for 10 years.
No, he was like 60.
Oh.
Not that there's anything wrong with an older man, but anyway.
Not ones that climb mountains.
It's funny because this is kind of going off on a tangent, but everyone says to me like, you'll meet the love of your life on top of a mountain But the only men that I meet on top of mountains are like 60-year-old men.
Yeah.
And I had one the other day.
And this is the weekend when they're not in the nudist camp.
Yeah. I had one the other day that asked me if I knew Jesus.
Really?
So, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
What, on the mountain?
Yeah, it's just me and him.
You're
no one
all
else.
looking for something up those mountains, aren't you? You're all in search of something. You're all looking for your own bit of divine.
I mean, this is really going off, but I can kind of see it, you know. When you're up there, I can kind of see why people would be like, yeah, someone must have made this because it's awesome. It's really cool.
Oh, so you feel a bit sort of a creationist vibe creeping?
Yeah, like I don't believe that personally, but I can see why people do.
Yeah, it's awe-inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah, because it kind of feels like overwhelmingly amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
how could this all just be accidents of tectonic plates crashing together over millennia?
But it was quite funny because he was just like, "Do you know Jesus?" And I was like, "Sorry, what?" Excuse me? Do you know Jesus? And I was like, not personally.
Right. Yeah, it must be strange when someone asks you something like that, when you're like, were there other people around?
No, it was literally like the whole time.
No, that's how horror movies, it's a horror movie thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It didn't scare me though, I just thought.
Have you ever met Jesus at the top of a mountain? Do you want to? Okay, so
anyway.
So then you get the bug for it.
Yeah, so yeah, I really do get the bug for it.
Right.
I join a load of hiking groups. I'm like off.
And these Facebook groups, or are they like
no,
proper
this was
like groups?
So the first ones I joined were on Meetup. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I think I've heard of it. I've never been on it.
A website where you meet up with people.
Okay.
So
like people that actually want to do stuff.
Do similar things to you, basically. Yeah, so I joined like 2 really awesome groups, and they were kind of London based, and we'd kind of get the train down to the South Downs or go for a weekend in Snowdonia or the Lake District, and I made like a really cool group of friends with them and absolutely loved it. Did that for probably like 3-4 years. And then I just got to the point where I was like, I want to do this by myself. Like, I want to get out on my own.
And was that because like you'd be trying to enjoy a moment and you'd find that, you know, next to you, you've got someone sort of going up this mountain next to you and like trying to make small talk.
Yeah,
and
a bit.
Just, I just wish you'd just put your headphones in or just like, just go away. I'm just doing this.
Like sometimes it was fun, like really if I was in a sociable mood. But yeah, sometimes I just wanted to be by myself and not have to make conversation with people all the time. I am a bit of an introvert, so it was kind of exhausting.
It can be, can't it?
Yeah.
I have days where I, as you know, I have a very sociable role.
Yeah, you're like the most extroverted person ever as well.
But then, like most of the time, I don't want to be bothered.
Really?
Yeah. When I get home, if I'm on my way home, I don't really necessarily.
You can't really hide, can you?
I can't hide. No. So it's weird. It is strange. I'm an extrovert, but I've also got those introvert bits where
I think
I
everyone
know when
does.
it's time to knock it on the head and just like exist on. I quite like it when I go home and I'm on my own and just like.
I think it's important, even if you are massively extroverted, just to like spend time with yourself, because I think you can use socializing as an excuse to kind of run away from yourself and parts of yourself that you maybe don't like.
Right.
And I mean, this is kind of why I think hiking alone is so important and why I do it all the time, is because it kind of forces you to be with yourself, even the bad parts of yourself, like your negative thoughts and stuff, and kind of befriend that part. This sounds really like crazy. And
no, it doesn't. No.
Like, and I think that really helps with, you know, self-confidence and stuff like that, and just being okay with being on your own and having your independence and stuff like that. I think it's really important, and I don't think we do it very much these days because we're constantly distracted.
Right.
We've got so much to watch and to read and to listen to and people to talk to and social events to go to. I think it's rare that we do just take time out just to sort of be in silence with ourselves and just like be, basically. So that's kind of what I get the most out of it and why I kind of tell people to do it
Right.
all the time.
Well, it's an important message, isn't it? You know, this is a theme that comes up throughout some podcasts on here. If you go back through the catalogue, is that people like find they find sort of refuge and solace in nature. And they're people that, you know, generally you probably wouldn't think would want to be sat alone with just their thoughts, because they're quite sort of like, you know, peppy, kind of like energetic sort of people. And it does them a world of good, or they manage to sort of like figure that out like you have, and they get amongst it. But what's interesting about what you've done with it is that you've created a real social media following of what you do, right?
Yeah.
And so you're an introvert, but you're doing an extrovert thing, aren't you? There's an extrovert side of what you're doing, which I think is quite interesting.
But it's not...
it's not showy-offy. It's not vain.
Yeah, to be fair, like, I mean, it kind of is. I had to get my head around that it was only March this year that I decided that I wanted to kind of make the outdoors into a career and try and, make that into a thing, basically. I had 600 followers at that point on Instagram. I just would like rarely post, just some photos like of mountains occasionally.
It's a normie account.
Just a normie account. And then I just sort of did this solo wild camp in Exmoor, and
when you say wild camp, this means, because you will have to bring me in on some of your terminology, which is what I want to get into. Like, get nitty gritty with this, because I am curious about what you do, and the things involved with it. So, a solo wild camp, obviously, you're on your own. Mm-hmm. Wild means you're not going to like a campsite or somewhere that's sort of like predetermined to be a place where you can stay. So you're actually just going out fully of your own accord, finding a spot that's not really looked after by anyone, there's no facilities or whatever, and you're just doing it. You're proper doing it. Yeah,
you just kind of go for a hike, and then you just find somewhere, and then you set up your tent, and then you sleep in your tent.
Right. I think I would get so bloody bored. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be really cool, like getting there, setting up, the sun's going down, better set up camp. Do you know what I mean? Before you get it all done, that like kind of rush, and then being like, you got that nesting thing, haven't you? When you kind of go like, sick, all right, cool, we've got this, you know. And then, do you do campfires and stuff, or like?
No, it's like against kind of wild camping rules. Campfires. Sorry to break it to you.
God, there's a killjoy in everything, isn't there? So what will happen? Some bloke will show up with a clipboard and be like, what are you doing?
No, you can like set the whole national park on fire. You can have a campfire if you've got like a off the ground special thing.
Right.
But when you're carrying all your stuff,
you don't want it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think I'd get bored, because then I'd be like, now what do I do?
Are you like, do you go to bed quite late?
Yeah, I've got ADHD. I'm not really like that all the time, but my brain is, if I'm asleep, it's off, and then that's it. It's only off when I'm asleep.
I'm kind of the same. Like, I've got a very active brain, and like I really struggle with sleeping because I'm always thinking of things. I always describe my head as like a radio that's like always in between stations kind of thing.
Oh, sick.
Like, I'm always like flicking from one to the next, and I find that being out in nature helps me like get out of that head, and I'm thinking about is like, oh, the sunset is really nice, and right, I should probably get my water boiled so I can eat some food, and like, so it kind of brings you back to basics, and I always think, like, I've always suffered from anxiety. I think that it gives my anxiety a purpose. So you've got genuine things that you have to be worried about and you have to be thinking about. And the things that give me anxiety day to day is like stupid things that you shouldn't really be worrying about because they haven't happened yet, or they're in the past, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm out in nature, it's like, no, I have to actually be worried. Like,
there's consequences to you not doing what you should be doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of, relieve the anxiety in a way because it's got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And then I don't get bored because I'm kind of thinking about those things that I have to do. I take a book, so I read. But to be honest, as soon as the sun goes down in the summer, I go to sleep because then I'll be awake at like 5 a.m. for sunrise.
Right.
So and there's always things to do.
Yeah.
So
tell me, like, run me through it. So you find a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do all that stuff where like you look up and you think, oh, there's nothing that's going to fall on me and stuff like that? How, like, because you can get these things called widow makers, can't you? Or if you're sleeping in the forest. Yeah, if you're sleeping in the forest, it's where like bits of tree have died and fallen off and they're sitting in the canopies and stuff. Maybe this isn't in England, but there was a thing I heard about. And if you set up a campfire underneath these, then the warm air rising from the fire can loosen these branches in the trees, disturb them, and then come down and crash on you and kill you.
Wow.
Called widow makers. So what you do, and if you're in a forest and you need to make a fire in camp, you need to look up through the canopy and you need to set up your fire so that you're firing your smoke and your warm air rising through a gap in the canopy, so you're not disturbing any of the stuff that's like, maybe for years or months things have been falling and sitting in trees and sitting very sort of vicariously. There you go, I might save your life.
I was just going to say, I didn't think that you would be teaching me stuff about the outdoors, but where did you learn that?
I'm no stranger to a 7-foot sleeping bag and an Apex tent, a poncho.
Yeah?
Yeah, bungee strapped to a tree. I've done it all.
Have you?
Yeah, I've done it all. I was an army cadet.
Were you?
Yeah. So I've done
my best friend Laura was an army cadet. She doesn't shut up about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I shut up about it. It was a long time ago. Sometimes I bring it out. I've done other
that's
things
cool. I
since.
didn't know about that. But to be fair, I don't really camp in forests. I don't know why. It's not like a personal preference.
Well, it might be like, you might just start getting more hardcore as things go on. You might be like, I'm going to go deeper in that forest.
Yeah, and I'm going to light a fire.
And I'm not going to get killed by a branch.
So, no, I don't look up. Usually
You will next time. You'll be like, there's no tree there. What am I looking up for?
Yeah, because usually I'm literally like on the side of a mountain where there aren't any trees.
Oh. Do you ever have to like hammer stuff into the mountains and stuff? Do you ever do that crazy stuff? I see things where people like climb a mountain and then they hammer in these ropes and stuff and they end up like having a tent that just sort of like hangs
off the side.
Yeah.
That looks sketchy.
I wouldn't want to do that.
That's more for like climbers. I'm not a climber. No, I think you're thinking what I do is way more hardcore than it actually is.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, I watch your stuff on TikTok and I see what you're up to, but I don't know.
TikTok, but
do you not do TikTok?
It's Instagram.
Yeah, I know it's on Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I should get TikTok, but they look like they're TikTok edits put onto your Instagram.
No, they're reels.
Which is TikTok.
I tried TikTok, but it's just too much. It's too much out there. I can't.
Too much effort.
It's just too many things to learn.
Oh, okay. Because what people do is they do the TikTok, and then they take the TikTok and use that as the reel on Instagram.
Yeah, but
which I thought was what you were doing.
Instagram doesn't like that. If you
does it not?
So it won't. It's like inside knowledge of how to grow on Instagram, but like it doesn't push your content if you've just taken it off TikTok. Like it has to be kind of freshly made video.
No, this is great. This is great. We have loads of conversations. Don't be scared of the mic. We have loads of conversations about stuff, social media stuff like that. I guess it's because TikTok's got that watermark on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And the AI probably reads it, or the algorithm probably knows it's there, and then suppresses it.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Anyway.
So I just don't know how far you go with this stuff, because you go, we're off camping, we're off doing this and that, and we're up this mountain. But I don't really see the home base. Or I don't think I've seen a home base.
So, I mean, it kind of depends where we go, but we've done, I say we, I'm talking about me and my best friend or me on my own. Like my first one was Exmoor. That was the first one I did on my own. I've done loads in Dartmoor. So Dartmoor's the only place that you can legally wild camp, and Scotland.
Right.
Everywhere else in England it's illegal, and in Wales as well.
And why is that? Is it because you're potentially destroying
Just
like habitats and stuff?
landowner rights.
Right.
And a lot of people that wild camp do ignore it. So the rule is you should get permission from the landowner if you want to camp. But a lot of it is owned by National Trust or, really old generations of someone that you're never going to be able to get in contact with.
Right.
So there are kind of just rules that you kind of adhere to. So be discreet, just have 1 or 2 tents, like don't have a party of people there. Leave no trace, the obvious one. Just like respect it basically. Like set up late, leave early. Don't like be in the way of the nature, but if you want to camp there, no one's gonna really notice if you sort of set up at 8 p.m. when the sun's about to set and you're in the middle of nowhere. No one's really gonna come and disturb you. And if they do, all they'll say is like, you can't camp here, and you say, okay, I'll move on tomorrow. Like that's all.
And they go, yeah, you better. I'll be back.
But it's never happened to me, and most people that I talk to, it's never happened to. Like it might happen to someone who is being really risky, like camping in a field or,
right.
Like I wouldn't do that. I would camp, on the side of a mountain or on a moor, or like, usually in a national park somewhere.
And do you ever get a bit like sort of spooked or weirded out when you're out there in these places on your own? You ever sort of worry for your safety? And I suppose you're like quite far out the way, aren't you? But also, you'd assume that you're so far out the way that you wouldn't see anyone else. But then you also, I guess there's that other part of your brain that's like, well, if something happened, I am so far out the way.
So I get people asking me this all the time, which is like, how do you get over the fear? Because like for a lot of women, we're just told like, don't even walk on your own in your town, like.
Yeah.
And the answer is like, I do feel scared. Like I've had nights where I haven't slept at all because I've been so scared. And
why would you? What's going on in those nights? Just weird noises around you, or you think, oh, I thought I saw someone over there like an hour ago.
There was one particular camp that I was really scared the whole night, and it was because there were loads of wild horses, and I thought I was going to get trampled on.
Oh.
And there was just this one crazy horse that just kept neighing like every like minute, and it would like startle me awake.
Right.
And I would get out my tent and have a look, and I could just see these like eyes looking at me, and I'd feel like, oh my god, this horse is just gonna like come and trample me,
kick you in your sleep.
Yeah, I was really like, that was more scary. And like occasionally I'll think, oh, was that a footstep? But then I just think, no, there's no one around. And the way I think about it is, I'm so far away from someone, like that's pretty dedicated. If someone's looking to go and like murder a young woman, they're not going
over there.
They're not gonna walk for 2 hours in the hope that there's a tent, and inside that tent hope that there's a woman on her own, and it's not some like 6'6" guy that
6'9". But but yeah, imagine that. Be like, aha. Didn't expect that, did you, mate? But yeah,
that's how I kind of get around it in my head. I just think like,
and also statistically, of all the people on the planet, most people are quite nice and they're not murdering psychopaths.
Also, most of these things happen in towns and cities, which is like really not a very nice statistic, but it's very rare that it would happen out in nature. And I just think like, it's like anything. There are risks every single day. You can cross the road and get killed on your daily walk to work. So I guess the risk is that you're on your own and there's less help. But if you have the precautions, you know how to help, ask for help, you know what to do if something goes wrong, like, I think it's fine. And so I feel the fear, and I kind of welcome the fear because the fear is keeping me safe.
I welcome the fear.
I welcome.
I love it. Yeah, sorry. I couldn't. I welcome the fear.
Sounds like the title of my book or something.
Yes. Do that.
Yeah, and because I think a lot of people think like I'm just prancing around, like feeling no fear, and it all feels great and lovely all the time, but it doesn't.
But that wouldn't be fun either, would it?
No.
So part of it must be.
It is the adrenaline.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, yeah, I could see the appeal in it.
Yeah. And also I just remember like, I think people quite often are scared to feel the fear. That, do you know what I mean? It's like the fear of the fear.
This is the marketing in you coming out, is it? Some people are scared to feel the fear. And just keep bringing the fear in. Just keep dropping it in. Before you know it, it'll be the, I looked fear in the eye, and it blinked. Do you know what I mean? It'll be great.
Fear spoke to me in my sleep.
Welcome to the Fear Busting Podcast. Brilliant.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say like the fear, like I just wanted to finish what I'm going to say about the fear.
No, you don't want to use the word fear, but do it.
No, because I just think it's important because I think people like to try and escape the feeling of fear, but it's actually one of our...
It's a natural thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of our most basic feelings and it keeps us safe. So it's like, it's fine. Don't try and run away from it. Don't try and escape it. Just be like, okay, it's trying to tell me something, so I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah.
And then usually once you start like accepting the fear, it kind of goes away a little bit.
Accept the fear. I love it. Yeah, but that's part of the anxiety thing that you're combating or becoming at one with, or whatever spiritually your mission when you go on these things is it's all based in fear, and you're accepting it and you're rolling with it. You're not running from it. You're sort of leaning into the fear and conquering it. But that's like we were saying, it's part of the appeal. Nothing that's
true.
really fun is ever truly like super safe.
Yeah, I think I read something the other day about like pain and pleasure, how you don't have one without the other. So that I wake up in the morning and I've survived the night. I might have been a little bit scared in the night, got a little bit of sleep, but like you feel this like sense of pride.
Right.
And if you've got a sunrise, it's just the most amazing thing. There's no one else around you. You feel like you're the only person on earth, and there's no signs of like humans around. And it's just like the best feeling, and that is like the pleasure that you get from those little moments of fear that might have happened in the night or as you get set up or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like that, oh, I survived, I made it. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So what's the plan with the social media stuff? Like how far, like, because now because I see you're doing the morning, what do they call it? What do you call it? Wild swimming.
Wild swimming, yeah.
Wild swimming. And then I saw that you were off doing weightlifting in a barn somewhere. And I was like, what are we not doing? So what's the big adventure? Have you got like some big sort of like main adventure that you're going to like teasing that you're going to go and do?
No.
You're not going to go and do like...
Actually, my page is kind of the opposite to that. I'm trying to promote or encourage like mini adventures.
Right.
Just, we see all these people do massive adventures, and I've done stuff like that before. I did a hike called the West Highland Way in May, and it's like a 96-mile hike over 6 days where I wild camped, and it was amazing and it was really nice. But my goal is to make it accessible to people. And actually, I am in the process of creating a membership for women that want to get more confident in the outdoors.
Right.
So that's going to be launched hopefully early next year. So my goal is like for people that maybe don't do much at the moment to kind of encourage them just to do a little bit. And I love just going wild camping for one night. Like 24-hour adventures are one of my favourite things, where I just wake up on a Saturday and I'm just like, oh, I might go off somewhere, and then I pack up all my stuff, drive somewhere, camp for the night, and then I'm back like 24 hours later at home.
Right.
And it's just like a nice little way, you know, it doesn't require much planning. It's like you feel like you've got out into nature, and then you can come back and then go back to work if you need to. Like, you don't have to take months off and go off and do something crazy to really feel that like freedom of being out in the wild, basically.
Right.
So it's actually, kind of the opposite of what I'm trying to do. Not to say that, you know, I'd love to go and do a massive adventure, but I actually quite like seeing lots of different parts of the UK and just doing little ones.
Right. And this membership thing, is this going to, are you kind of like create an app with that, or how's that kind of going to be structured? How do you like interact with that?
It's going to be mainly online. It's going to be a website, and basically I'm designing these route cards. So they're like really easy to follow hiking routes, which are going to be all over the country. And on them, it's like a step-by-step guide of where to go. It will also have like important information, like where the toilets are. And I'm also going to put where you can stay, where you could possibly wild camp if you wanted to, good wild swimming spots. Just make it like really straightforward for someone that doesn't really know how to navigate.
Right. So it's just kind of like if you had no knowledge at all, you would be able, but some interest. Say they follow you on Instagram, and you put up one of those things where it's like, ask me anything, ask me a question or whatever, because you get great engagement with that stuff. Like people, that's a sign of a really successful account, is that people want to ask you, they want you to see their questions and respond to them. And so they say they ask you a question, and you go, well, you know, go to this thing and go to this membership thing, and everything you need there. They can go to that and without any experience or knowledge, pretty much figure out. I mean, I guess there's some gear you got to buy. Like you have to have the right clothes, I guess.
Yeah. So along with the route cards, I'm going to do one route card a month, and then I'm also going to do a kit guide once a month as well. So pick like hiking boots, and then I'm going to write a guide on how to find the right hiking boots for you.
Oh.
Or like the right raincoat. So I'm going to do kit guides every month, and then I'm also going to do videos of other tips. So how to navigate, or how to find a local wild swimming spot, or how to read the weather for a mountain. And so hopefully there'll be good stuff for you to learn every month. And then on top of that, I also do want to do like monthly meetups as well, and create a community, maybe like a Facebook group or something like that, where all the women that are involved can all talk to each other and meet up with each other, and, you know, find another hiking buddy or ask for good routes in this area and stuff like that. So just create like a real cool community of women that just really want to get outside more, but don't necessarily feel totally confident because it's overwhelming. Like, I've got to the point now where I find it quite easy to find a route and to do the research and to know what kit to buy and all that sort of stuff, because I've made all the mistakes over the past 7 years. Like, I've bought shit kit and I've got lost and I've done it all wrong. Right. So I kind of have learned that way, but
yeah, they can learn from
my mistakes, basically. So I'm hoping to just pass that knowledge on and give them the tools to go off either by themselves or take a friend and follow either my route cards, or have the tools to find their own local hiking routes and stuff like that. And get out like wild camping on their own and that sort of stuff, basically.
That's amazing. And it shouldn't take courage. It's weird, isn't it? The world we live in. It shouldn't be a thing that you have to overthink.
Yeah.
To be a woman and just to go and sleep in a tent somewhere on your own. So it's great that this is what you're tapping into, not tapping into that specifically, but you're creating an entry point, I guess, that's kind of safe, or at least sort of responsible, about this stuff.
I think it takes all the other risks away. Like, you know, if I feel confident with my navigation, I feel like I've got the right kit, I've read the weather properly, I know what to do in an emergency, I know some basic first aid stuff. It's like I've covered most of the bases, so I feel pretty in control. And anything that happens that's out of my control, it's kind of like there's nothing I could have done about that. Do you know what I mean? Like I've done as much as I can, and that's how I feel so confident going out on my own. And I think there's also so much information out there. It's quite overwhelming. I kind of want to condense,
distill it into...
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Make it hopefully easy to understand. And yeah, and I'll be sort of on hand as well for people that want to ask questions. And I just get so many DMs from women that are like, I would absolutely love to do what you do, but I just feel too scared. I don't know where to start. I don't know if I've got the right kit. And so it'd just be nice to have this one place where everyone can be, and hopefully people can help each other and stuff like that.
Create a community.
Yeah, that's a dream.
That'd be sick. And then would you ever consider doing, like, I guess if you've got enough members, then you could do an annual thing where you go, okay, we're going to travel to, I don't know, the Alps or somewhere a little bit further afield that you can't do in a 24-hour or a weekend thing, and just do it all together.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean,
imagine that 30 of you guys up an Alp.
Yeah,
be chaos.
I mean, I don't know if I could lead that. I might need to get like a proper international mountain leader. But no, the hope is to kind of do kind of retreats. I don't really like that name, but that sort of thing, like gatherings, maybe twice or once a year, where a load of us meet up and in real life, and I take people out on hikes and kind of teach them stuff in real life. And we have like a yoga teacher that does some yoga, and like we go for a wild swim, and we'll get together and kind of meet each other. I think would be really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the plan.
That sounds sick. And I guess that's where the career element comes into it as well, because if you're doing something where you're doing a gear, you're highlighting a piece of gear. Let's say you've got the latest what is it, Gore-Tex
Very good.
trousers and a ripstop jacket. And you know, these companies are sooner or later are going to come to you and say, hey, we would love you to do a review of our new jacket. And of course, then I guess you have to have the integrity to not just be like, yeah, I'll take it and tell you it's great.
Yeah.
You have to be
that's already started happening,
right,
to be honest. Like,
sick. What are you reviewing then?
Well, I'm going to be, so the company that makes the tent that I've got, which I do genuinely absolutely love, have asked me to be an ambassador for them next year. So they're sending me loads of cool gear that I will be putting on my Instagram, and I have to do reviews for it as well. And it'd be great for the membership as well to kind of, use that. It's kind of one of those things actually with brands partnering up. Like, it has to be something that I actually like.
Right. There's got to be some integrity, isn't there?
Yeah, which is really difficult because you do get things kind of sent to you a lot. And I only have 6,000 followers. Imagine if you had like 100,000 followers. Like,
yeah.
And so it can be quite tempting to be like, yeah, I'll do it all.
Yeah.
I want all the free stuff. But actually, you know, I have to remember that my goal is to kind of help people.
Right.
To help women like get outside and enjoy nature. And if I'm going to be promoting a product that I don't think is very good, then I don't want them to buy it. Like, that's not the point.
Yeah, because eventually they'll just not trust you.
Exactly.
Or they'll see through what you're doing and they'll think it's a cynical thing, and it just defeats the whole purpose of it, doesn't it? And so that's a short-term thing, isn't it? You need to play the long game with it.
Yeah.
I get stuff like that all the time on Instagram. Do you want to be an ambassador for this? And it's no, I don't want to wear your horrible t-shirt. Probably won't fit anyway.
Yeah, I get something like real hot. Oh my god, I got sent. I don't want to offend anyone though.
I'll do it.
But I got sent this like vegan jerky. And I took it on my hike. Oh, I run a hiking group as well, by the way. I took it on my hiking.
Just drop that in there.
I took it on my hiking group for everyone to try, and no one liked it. It was disgusting.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you vegan?
I was vegan for a year, but I'm not anymore.
Right. Why was that?
I just really missed eating meat, to be honest.
Did it get in the way of like hiking stuff? Was it like to what you could eat and what you like the energy that you? No, I'm not anti. It sounds like I'm a bit anti-vegan, looking for a way to discredit it. I'm not at all.
No, you know what? Actually, I felt I had more energy when I was vegan.
Right.
But I hated going out to a restaurant and only being able to eat one vegan option. So I eat like mostly vegan at home, and then when I eat out, I'll probably get like a steak or something.
Right. Well, that's all right. You treat yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
Wicked. So when is this membership dropping? When's the...
So the membership is called the Adventure Girls Club.
Uh-huh.
I'm working on it at the moment. I'm hoping to launch it early next year, but I don't have a date yet.
Right.
Because I don't want to put that pressure on myself.
Okay,
basically.
no, fair enough.
But yeah, it's like very nearly there. It's very nearly ready. I just want to make sure it's good before I launch it.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully early next year. I sort of had the idea in June this year. So it's been mulling away in my mind while working on all my graphic design work. And I've sort of been cutting that down loads more, saying no to my graphic design stuff so I can work on this membership. And I'm hoping that, I'll be able to kind of run with that a bit more next year.
Was it a thing where you had the idea and you went, that's really good. And then you went, but it's a bit ambitious and I'll just kind of like, just carry on with what I'm doing today or something. And then it just kind of kept coming back like, this is really good. Did you feel it? Were you like, oh no, I need to do this. There's something telling me really like pretty hardcore that I need to do this.
Yeah.
You just couldn't deny it. It was like, oh.
It was like in the back of my mind for ages. And then, Jess Ellens, right?
Yes.
She's been on this podcast.
Shout out Jess.
Shout out Jess. So I'm a member of Wild.
Nice.
And I was having a session with her and I just said like, I've just got, this idea that I want to do something for women in the outdoors. And she was like, I'm so glad you said that because I've been thinking about you and I really think you should do this membership for women in the outdoors. Right. And then I started telling people and everyone was like, you have like, yeah. And then I sort of mentioned it to an old client who's now a business coach and she was like, I really want to work with you. So now I'm working with her to kind of get it all set up. So yeah, it was kind of, when I first came up with it, I was like, oh, this is a cool dream, but I just don't, you always have those things. Like I just thought, you can't make the outdoors into a career. Like that's not possible. People don't do that.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to ask you is have you ever thought about, and I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing the idea because I think it's bloody great, but is it crossed your mind that, that they say sometimes if you really love something, don't make it a career. You ever thought about like, what your contingency plan, not like a plan B, because that's always really super like patronizing, but like what your contingency plan is for like, okay, you're running all this stuff and you're really heavily involved in that, but there's still going to be an element of that which will make you want to go and do your own bit. So you're gonna have to do some of these adventures on your own, I imagine, and not have it be part of that project and it just be your own hike.
So I'm kind of experiencing this at the moment.
Right.
Because now I'm doing loads of Instagram and I started a YouTube channel as well. And I've started having to take product shots for brands. And so when I go out on a hike now, I'm like thinking of all these things that I've got to do. And when I first started doing it, it was kind of taking the enjoyment out of it a little bit. And I thought, this isn't the point,
You've brought the office to the escape. Right.
So I've just found a way of managing it a bit better. So I'll go and I'll have like a task that I've got to do, which is, I've got to get this shot for this brand, or like if I'm doing a YouTube video, like I'm going to have to get a shot of me doing this. And then I'll get that shot and then I'll just put my phone away and then I'll just enjoy it and I won't think about it. Right. It's very like mindset based, I guess. And I think it is going to take a bit of practice for me to get the enjoyment out of it and do the work as well. But also, I would still rather be off on a hike and having a little bit more stress than I probably usually would on a hike, trying to get a shot, than being sat in an office being a graphic designer. So for me, that's like still better. And also, I've always got graphic design to fall back on. Like, if I had to, if it all fails, like, I know that I can do a good logo.
Yeah, you just put the word out and someone will go, I need my website updated.
Yeah, I mean, I get
back
that
in the game
all the time anyway.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they all sound like.
You're not going out on one of your walks, so can you just send this through?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, no.
No, that's what I've been saying recently.
Out of office. Bye-bye.
Yeah, sorry.
Bye-bye, honey.
But yeah, it is, I think, something that I have thought about a lot. Like, is this going to take the love out of it for me? But I think the membership won't, because I think that's like something that I'm really passionate about, and it's kind of a bit more wholesome than just getting followers on Instagram.
Yeah. But it's one of those, it's double-edged sword, isn't it? Because the followers equal
exactly
money, success, and fulfillment, and, you know, realizing of dreams and stuff. But also the pursuit of followers can sometimes feel a bit like a sort of an empty.
Yeah. That's really hard to get your head around as well. Like,
yeah,
not chasing followers all the time.
Doesn't mean that much, but it does mean stuff. It's weird, isn't it?
I kind of have like got into the mindset that it's a business. So it's not about me personally. Like, I am kind of, it's a business that I'm trying to turn into a career, basically.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, if I lose some followers or whatever, it's not about me. It's about like...
Well, they weren't the ones that are going to be joining in anyway if you lose them.
No, exactly.
So...
Good riddance.
Yeah. Ciao. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely something that I'm going to have to try and get my head around a bit more. But I think just having your mindset of like, right, I've got the stuff that I need and I'm just going to enjoy it now and put my phone away. And also I think maybe it will be good to do like one walk a month where I just don't do anything. It's just for me. And I don't post it on anywhere, and I don't talk about it to anyone.
Secret walk. Clandestine. I like it. That's probably a good play. I think it's time to wrap this up.
It's way past my bedtime.
I've forgotten how to speak. Well, all the best with the membership, and once it's all off and running and successful and everything's going well, come back on, give us an update.
Will do.
Share some more wild stories.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.